SpaceX could launch Starship Orbital flight test before Christmas 2021. The year 1969 was truly one giant leap for mankind, as Neil Armstrong became the first ever person to step on the moon. 50 years ago, the greatest feat that we contemplated on was getting a man to space and back. But now, there are talks of multi-planetary inhabitation. For some, the idea of humans colonizing another planet might be too far-fetched, and some may even call it crazy. However, with the launch of the Starship Orbital flight test, could that future really be impossible? If you like this video, then don't forget to give it a thumbs up and click that subscribe and notification bell to get future updates on new videos from the channel. So first things first, what is SpaceX and what is it trying to accomplish? SpaceX, or Space Exploration Technologies Corporation, is a private aerospace company owned and founded by business giant Elon Musk way back in May of 2002. In the earliest years of space travel, NASA was the only one who headed and managed any kind of spaceflight operations, which were mostly composed of cargo trips to and from the International Space Station. However, years later, the agency decided to have private companies partake in these operations so that NASA itself could focus on its primary goal of deep space exploration. Throughout the years, several aerospace companies decided to take on the opportunity to provide NASA such services, and possibly even explore other space travel-related business ventures of their own. That said, SpaceX wasn't the first company of its kind. A number of aerospace companies already existed before 2002, such as Boeing, for instance. So what makes SpaceX special? One of the most defining traits of the company is the fact that its founder, Elon Musk, has stated his ambitious goal of colonizing Mars for the benefit of the human race. Seems like something out of a sci-fi movie, isn't it? Well, to him, that was actually the idea. To make these amazing, seemingly impossible sci-fi inspired ideas into reality. Musk believes that if ever mankind decides to stay on Earth, we would inevitably meet our end from some cataclysmic event. By setting up a colony on Mars, we would increase the chances of survival for our species. In other words, he visualizes a future where humans become a space-faring civilization. Unfortunately, the greatest hurdle to that vision is an idea that has eluded NASA for years, and that's the concept of reusability. As you might have guessed, space travel isn't really cheap. It takes hundreds of millions of dollars to send a spacecraft to outer space, and that's not even the worst part. Thing is, most of the rockets that are launched into orbit either burn up or end up in the sea. To even consider normalizing space travel in the future, there needs to be a way of being more cost-effective with these operations. Elon Musk is quoted in saying, "It was obvious to me that we would never colonize Mars without reusability, any more than America would have been colonized if they had to burn the ships after every trip." And so began years' worth of testing and funding to get a rocket that could be launched into orbit and safely be recovered to be reused for the next launch. Fast forward to today, and we have the so-called Starship. Starship is the manifestation of Elon's dream, since it's being pioneered to become a completely reusable spacecraft that allows its hardware to be recovered from space, thus reducing billions of dollars worth of cost. The spacecraft will be placed on top of a rocket called Super Heavy. The rocket will be responsible for launching the Starship into orbit. It's filled with 3,400 tons of cryogenic methalox and is going to be powered by 32 Raptor engines. Given its specifications, it's estimated to be far more powerful than the launcher on Saturn V in the 60s and 70s. The Starship, on the other hand, is equipped with 6 Raptor engines, which has the ability to greatly reduce the amount of propellant wasted, thus leading to high-efficiency performance of the machine. The payload compartment of the spacecraft is estimated to carry a large amount of cargo as well as people farther into space. Now, all of this definitely sounds exciting, but the next launch that's going to be held still isn't the real deal, As of now, SpaceX is still conducting flight tests for Starship prototypes. It was reported that the United States Federal Aviation Administration is the one to grant SpaceX the permission to launch an orbital flight. Another challenge seen was the environmental concerns surrounding the actual launch, which will be held in Boca Chica, Texas. There have been some concerns of the environmental impacts that the launch could have on its surroundings. This will, of course, be reviewed by the FAA. Suffice to say, SpaceX must be able to secure and appease most, if not all of the concerns surrounding the launch of its spacecraft if they aim to go through with it before Christmas of this year. Hypothetically speaking, let's say that the launch does proceed as planned and was seen to be successful. What would that actually mean? That means that SpaceX has taken another solid step forward towards its dream of long-haul trips to the Red Planet. The spacecraft would be used as the means of establishing the colony on Mars. It's estimated that the one-way trip to the Red Planet from Earth would take 9 months. Once done, refueling will be done on Mars and would then be sent back to Earth, thus establishing a sustainable interplanetary travel. It's also worth noting that the Starship will also be used in NASA's Artemis program, aimed to take place in 2024. According to a BBC article, the goal of the said program is to establish long-term human presence on the Moon. The model to be used for this program, however, wouldn't be exactly the same as the one proposed for the trip to Mars, because unlike the original version of the spacecraft, the one that's going to be used for the Artemis program would mostly be traveling from the orbit of the Moon to the different lunar surfaces. Musk says that in the distant future, possibly once we actually reach Mars, the Starship could be used as a means of space tourism. This means that ordinary people could have the chance to tour the outer reaches of space, possibly as far as Jupiter. With solid steps being taken in order to actually pursue this dream, it may not be long before this too can become a reality. If we were to follow the SpaceX timeline, there seems to be steady progress to ensure that space travel indeed becomes a part of our civilization in the coming years. The desire of innovators and scientists to explore and study Mars would most likely be independent of whether or not Earth can still sustain life 100 years from now. Buzz Aldrin quotes, "Exploring and colonizing Mars can bring us new scientific understanding of climate change, of how planet-wide processes can make a warm and wet world into a barren landscape. By exploring and understanding Mars, we may gain key insights into the past and future of our world. It is therefore entirely possible that the orbital flight test by SpaceX would not only solidify its mark as an innovator in the realm of space travel, but may very well decide the course humanity will take within the coming years." This is Brain Tech, and you'll want to like, subscribe, and share. And for that tech that really matters for your gray matter, be sure to review our previous content that will blow your mind.